There's been a murder. In my family, we play board games a lot, and we have a fantastic game called 221B Baker Street, and it's all about Sherlock Holmes. And there's cases, and you have to explore the board, the map, and discover clues and build the profile of the murderer, motive, and method and weapon. And then you reveal all, and it's fantastic. Marketing should be murder. And I mean that in a positive way. What I mean is, it shouldn't be difficult and painful, but it should be methodical. There should be structure. And in the world of Sherlock Holmes, murder obviously always has a structure, and he unpicks it. For me, Sherlock Holmes is a great way to think about the motive, the murderer, and the weapon when it comes to awesome marketing. As Holmes might say at this stage, the game is indeed afoot. What am I on about? Well, bear with me here. The motive is about following the meaning and the feeling of your marketplace. What is going to motivate them? Marketing is all about motive and motivation. So who do you need to motivate? Why? And what will motivate them? What will float their boat? Why will they care? What would cause them to act? Now, we're not asking them to murder anyone, of course. This is an incitement to murder. But we are asking them to click on an email or follow us on social or start a conversation with us or buy from us or visit something or read something. And in that context, we definitely want to encourage the action. So what's the meaning and what's the feeling that you need to tap into to motivate your person, your customer, your prospect through your marketing? Onto the murderer. Well, of course, there's no actual murder. Please don't go out and murder anyone. That would be really awful for everybody. But who needs to lead on the execution of the marketing for the business? And again, execution, intentional choice of words. By execution, I mean the actual delivery of. Who's going to do the work? Who's going to make it happen? Now, everyone in your business, and in fact, everyone outside your business, starts on the playing field in regards to being the murderer, the executioner in the context of your marketing. People in your business, people in your marketing team can execute your marketing strategy and campaigns. People in the rest of the business could be integral to the delivery of that marketing campaign. And people outside your business, both customers and non-customers, could have a role to play. So, for example, I once read a story of an organization, I can't remember which organization, it was quite a long time ago, 15, 16 years ago now, of a company getting to know its staff better and discovering that there was a lady in the documentation department who had been at the company the longest. And this lady had actually been keeping an unofficial history of the company. Wow. And so they encouraged and supported her to launch a blog about the history of the company. And that got lots of traction and engagement because the company was an older company. Lots of people over the years had been there. Lots of people's parents had worked there. And this whole community emerged of people whose individual history was tied to the history of that company. And that was someone in the resources, in the documentation department, who up until that point wasn't in marketing. But you can see why she's in marketing now. She's playing a role. She's got a story to tell. So who needs to lead on the execution for your business? Who in your business could indeed lead on the execution? Who could contribute? Who has something to say? And if you don't know the answer to that, find out. Speak to your team. What do they know? What do they care about in relation to the business? What floats their boat? What are they obsessed with? If you have a softball team or a soccer team, is there somebody who obsesses about the stats? Great. Absolutely brilliant. Tap into that. Does somebody's 19-year-old fashion student child want to develop the uniforms for that team? I don't know. I mean, you've got to start thinking laterally, because if people buy from people, then the more you unearth the gems and the people in your business and give them a platform to do stuff that's going to contribute to the conversation or the conversations that your business is involved in, the more depth your business is going to have with regard to the personal relationships it's developing. And people love depth. People love buying from people. None of this is a no-brainer. Since I discovered the Frank Zappa quote that I often reference in 1998, it's held true. Frank Zappa said, an algorithm can tell you a story, but it can't tell you the whole story. It just doesn't have the eyebrows. People buy from people now more than ever. So the question isn't, how are you going to do your marketing? As much as it is, who is going to help you do your marketing? Who in the business in marketing? Who in the business that's not in marketing? Who outside the business that's a customer? And who outside the business that's not a customer? Could be a partner, could be a network you're part of. It could be a prospect. You could be running a non-customer focus group with people finding out why they don't use you and being brave and open and putting that out there. This is why we've started a dialogue with people who don't use our product. Let's find out why. How terribly risky, how terribly dangerous. But you're only going to learn, which is going to give you a chance to grow, and you're only going to connect with people. And connection and conversation is really where money is, ultimately, because people buy from people. So we've got the motive, we've got the murderer. Let's look at the weapon, the method. Ultimately, you have to reverse engineer the breadcrumbs of your campaign strategy. Now, what Sherlock Holmes does is often referred to deduction. It's actually not, it's induction. Induction is he takes the clues and forms a hypothesis based on what happened. That's actually induction. Deduction would be to start at the end and work his way back, which he doesn't do. He knows there's been a murder, but he just observes and gathers the clues. And no matter how, he says, once you've removed everything that cannot possibly be the reason or the solution, then whatever remains, no matter how absurd, must be the answer. And it's the same in marketing. No matter how absurd a marketing campaign might be, if it ticks all the boxes and has all the ingredients, it will work to some degree or another. It may require tweaking along the way, but if it's the right audience and the right message and the right call to action in the right market and the right channel using the right methods, how can it not work? And at the very least, you owe it to yourself to test it. But of course, that's elementary, my dear listener, as Holmes might say. And so ultimately, I think there's a massive lesson from Sherlock Holmes about how to reveal the motive, the murderer, the executioner, and the weapon when it comes to making your marketing awesome. There's a great little structure there. It's quite fun as well. You could even gamify it in your business and, flip it entirely and make it about, the case to solve the new customer, whatever it is. You can have a lot of fun with that. So, I hope that helps. Have a good day.